Okay, this is big news. According to Brett McMurphy, Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF are negotiating a settlement in the $17 to $20 million range to join the Big 12 in 2023. And the settlement could be reached as early as this month. So clearly this affects Oklahoma in a big way, with BYU already coming to the Big 12 next season. That would then set the table for a 14-team Big 12 in 2023. And technically, with how the contract is for OU and Texas, it would set the table for a 14-team Big 12 for 2023 and 2024. This is starting to feel a little more realistic, man, right?
Mm-hmm. And I love it.
Me too.
If we're going to be in the Big 12, like if we can't make that jump to the SEC, give me some new blood. I want to see some new games. I want to go to some new places. I want to see some new teams make their way into Norman. I'm all for it. And I know a lot of people maybe turn their nose up at the teams that the Big 12 added. I think everyone except for, I think everyone had 10-win season last year, didn't they? Or was BYU 9-win?
I would have to look. I can check for you.
Pretty sure Cincinnati definitely was. Houston definitely was. I think Houston was like 11-2. And then maybe it was UCF that was 9-3.
BYU 10-3 last year.
10-3. I think it maybe is UCF that was 9-3. But I think all of those teams last year, specifically BYU and Cincinnati, I mean, Cincinnati definitely finishes at the upper level of the Big 12. I think BYU probably does, and Houston had a hell of a team as well. So, I mean, I know it's not your traditional powers, but those are all really good football programs.
Yeah, Cincinnati last year 13-1, Houston 12-2, UCF 9-4.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, some quality football teams are getting at it, and I think that if maybe we only get it for 1 year in 2023, right? That will create one of the most entertaining. No, I'll say it'll be the most entertaining conference in college football. It may not have the best players, right? That's the SEC. We don't even need to argue about that. But when you talk about the level of competition, and it's kind of like a Formula One term, that like in the midfield, like that could be incredibly entertaining for all of us to watch. Now, still expect OU to be the top dog. Let's not get it twisted. But those 2 years, like a trip to Provo, sign me up.
I heard that stadium's beautiful. Just set in the mountains.
That's what everyone says. I want to go. So
I don't want to go to Houston. Don't care about going to Houston.
No.
I wouldn't mind seeing Cincinnati's field, and
we did that. We did it in a non-conference game when I was playing. We went and played Cincinnati in the Bengals Stadium.
I wouldn't mind a trip to Florida in November. I don't want a trip to Florida in September.
Agreed. Me on the sideline on the radio call in September in Florida would be a bad combination.
2:30 kick.
But, and I understand that some OU fans see this and they go, no, let's get to the SEC. But, and this is something we've talked about, but hear me out. Brent Venables and this staff having a few years to develop the roster, to continue to implement the culture, to get more of their guys into the program, to improve facilities, and to continue to develop new programs that have positive impacts and give the players more resources. Them having a few more years to do that before they go to the SEC is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing.
Agree.
You want to have this thing. Remember, he hasn't even coached a game yet. I know we're all excited and fired up, and it feels like things are building in a great direction. And Brent Venables is not scared of the SEC. But getting a few years under his belt, getting more comfortable as a head coach, getting that culture fully established, it would put OU in a better position going to the SEC in 2025. It just would. I know some people say, well, you get there and then you start using it as recruiting. I'm just saying they're going to recruit at a high level. The staff can recruit. I think we've all realized that quickly. So maybe let's get this thing to the highest level we can in the Big 12 and then make that transition. Once again, if it's earlier than that, not scared at all. But it's about what's best for the program making that transition. And a 14-team Big 12 for a year or even two, I think that'd be good for OU. I know some people may not want to hear that though.
Yeah. Hey, I got no problem waiting. In a perfect world, if we were absolutely ready right now, yeah, I would want to go start playing in the SEC, but I don't think we are ready. I think we do okay in the SEC, but why not be in your peak, window whenever you finally make that leap? And I'll tell you what, if it does take until the 2025 season, I'll tell you what, I don't know. I've got high expectations for the team this year, but next year, look out, right? If you're the Big 12, you'll have, everyone will agree, a much more manageable schedule to make it to a college football playoff. And if you have the right guys and you've got a team that is where you want them to be, who knows what could happen? It's way easier right now to win a national championship schedule wise coming out of the Big 12 than it is coming out of the SEC. So
especially with no expanded playoff.
That's right. Exactly.
Right? Think about it. Right now, OU, you only got to win. You get to the playoff, you got to win 2, right? That thing expands, It becomes more difficult. You got to go through more people. So I know some people may think, oh, no. Let's get there as soon as possible. But this had me fired up, man. It has a lot to do with me hosting a show on Big 12 radio where I'm just like, oh my gosh, 2 years of a 14-team Big 12. Let's go. Like I talked to Kalani Sitake earlier this week. And I mean, the people at BYU are so fired up about it. So they
started wiping that schedule. It's not like whenever you're leaving a conference and all of your games can just be, naturally changed. Like they've got all one-off games that it's like, hey, listen, about that game that we've got coming up the next couple of years. Sorry, gonna have to reschedule.
Yeah. So there is a bit of a domino effect with this though, and I think it's going to happen, right? Brett McMurphy, friend of the pod, right? We've had him on. When he puts something out there, it usually happens. Like his hit rate is real solid. So that would kind of trigger a domino effect where 6 Conference USA schools would then move to the American to kind of fill. And remember, poor Conference USA. They got people leaving for the Sun Belt. Now they got people leaving for the American. It's rough times there in Conference USA, but I know people saw this, kind of a mixed reaction, but I think it's a good thing for Oklahoma. I really do.
Yeah, I do too. And you're right. Conference USA, I feel it's about to vanish like a fart in the wind. And I'm just interested to see what happens with, whenever some of that buyout stuff starts happening and things start moving. Like, what happens with, does everyone else become way more, I guess, willing to work to get everything set, to get the conferences set? And maybe does that buyout for Oklahoma and Texas start to change a little bit?
It's definitely a possibility, right? I mean, but I feel like the administration, in conjunction with the football staff, like they're willing to be patient about it, right? Because, cutting a 75 or $100 million check, that's money they can use for new facilities, for implementation of new programs, all kinds of things. So I don't think our alma mater's in a hurry per se.
No, and it's a welcome to me to have some more teams join the Big 12 and get some new blood. I think that makes hanging around a couple more years palatable.
I'm with you. That's a great way of putting it. All right, let's hear from the listeners, man. Call your shot. We asked you guys on the thoughts of OU playing in a 14-team Big 12 in 2023. This first one comes from Carter J 1982 on Twitter, who says, hate it. Get us out of this conference. The Big 12 as an institution is going to do everything they can to screw us on the way out the door. See Thursday night game in Ames. We need to get to the SEC pronto.
I understand the line of thinking. I absolutely do. And trust me, like, as a fan, I cannot wait to join the SEC and be a part of, going on the road, welcoming those fan bases into Norman. I think it's going to be awesome. And I think the higher level of play is going to bring the best out of Oklahoma. I think we thrive in those type of situations. And I totally get it. And I think that's going to be the common response from fans, but I still believe your best chance to win a championship may be coming out of the Big 12 in the next couple of years.
No, that's fair. I will say this to Carter J. He mentions the Thursday night game in Ames this year. I'm not sure he realizes that's after a bye week.
After a bye week and before Kansas, right?
Yeah. No, Kansas. OU plays Kansas, then bye week, then Thursday night names.
Gotcha. And then
not exactly a murderer's row that the Big 12 has dealt the Sooners.
Right. And what helps is who do we play after that? Because you're going to get extra days after it too. So it's Baylor.
So thanks, Big 12.
Right. It's actually really beneficial because you get extra prep time after a Thursday night. You gain several days there of extra prep time and recovery if you got any nicks and guys banged up a little bit.
Yeah, so our man Carter J's hearing that going, huh? Interesting. All right, this other one comes from @ChrisRich316 on Twitter, who says, I like it from a competition standpoint. I'd put Cincinnati on the same tier as Oklahoma State, and then UCF and Houston with the TCU, K-State, and Iowa State tier. Competitive and would draw some interest. Plus, could open recruiting doors in the area. Maybe a small door, but talent is in those areas. The recruiting aspect of things, that's interesting. That's really something I hadn't thought that much about. Like, maybe you have a game down in Orlando and you get in front of more kids in the state of Florida. You're
going to be down there. Like that's going to be more of your stomping grounds when you go to the SEC.
Yeah. Now Houston, OU already recruits the hell out of Houston. And then Cincinnati, like Ohio it's fertile recruiting ground. So maybe if you got to take a road trip there, which if you get 2 seasons of this, most likely you do, that wouldn't be bad to get in front of some of those big time prospects in Ohio.
And I think the other thing is locally, it's always good for the local economy when we have a bunch of out-of-state fans from another fan base come in. And if we're only in this situation for 2 years, those fan bases are going to want to come to Norman. But our fan bases are going to want to go to those places to play a conference game. And those places are really going to want to come to watch a conference game in Norman. So I think you'll get that aspect of it too. I imagine BYU traveling a huge group of people.
Yeah.